Buonasera, and welcome back to The Give and Go. I'm your coach, Reynoso, here with my boy.
Soltero. What's up, y'all?
Let's get Italian with it, brother. Let's go to one of my favorite countries out there in the world. Let's visit and let's see what football they have to offer, because today we had 4 great Serie A matches that we're going to recap for all of you folks. So make sure to subscribe to the channel as we talk about these crazy Italian matches. Let's start with the one that just ended. Lazio hosting Fiorentina, a game that many expected would go differently, but then drama, coaching disaster classes, red cards, emotions got in the way, and Fiorentina pulls off the away victory 2-1 with some late drama involved.
The opening 20 minutes is where Fiorentina won this game. It was a stunning start where it was attack. Lazio could not contain Fiorentina's offense. The opening goal, beautiful combination involving the Argentine striker Lucas Beltran. It finds Goossens running down that left-hand side. He delivers a beautiful ball, and it's the Frenchman Yacine Adli who hits a nice little volley to give Fiorentina the lead. And then 6-7 minutes later, it's the other fullback on the right-hand side, Dodô, the Brazilian, finding space and then finding Lucas Beltran in the box. He smashes home a very easy header. Fiorentina were unstoppable in those first 20 minutes. Lazio then finally wake up, but it took 2 goals for them, for their heads to get back in the game. And while they did dominate, I'd say the entire second half, they just couldn't open up Fiorentina enough. They do get 1 goal to make it interesting. And honestly, if it wasn't for David De Gea, I think they would have equalized. But a strong opening for Fiorentina ended up being the difference here.
Yeah, from the moments I've seen Fiorentina in the past few years of having this podcast, I'd say most of the games where I've watched them for a full 90 minutes are those Europa Conference League games, right? Mm-hmm, so that's kind of that's the context I had in my mind going into this game, because I haven't seen them this year. But the moment they went up 2-0 and I saw their sort of defensive shape and the way that they just committed to their game plan, I was like, if this is the same Fiorentina that made it to this Conference League finals, they're getting the 3 points here, man. They really are. And it showed throughout the entire match. Lazio really struggled to break them down defensively until that last goal that we saw from Adam Marusic. But still, even then, Fiorentina held strong and their defense was really, really good. And it's my first time watching Lazio this year after seeing the results in the Europa League, super positive results, and seeing how they've been doing in Serie A. I can say I'm a little disappointed, but at the same time, I was more so disappointed in the fact that a guy like Nuno Tavares wasn't present, man. I was excited to see him, but I haven't seen Lazio before, so is he that important to their offense and their defense as well? What was missing for Lazio based off of what's happened so far this year? Because I get the sentiment, this isn't the best version of what they're able to achieve this year.
I think if Tavares had played in this match, they still would have conceded those opening goals. So I don't think that would have changed anything. Offensively, though, maybe they could have scored more if he was on the pitch. What he provides is X factor on that left-hand side. I mean, the way he's able to take on players, he combines pace, pure strength and athleticism with pretty decent technique. So obviously, offensively, he's a huge piece for Lazio. Yeah. But defensively, I still think they would have conceded 2 goals in the opening 20. But going back 2 years ago where they went to the Europa League Conference Final, I remember that team. And looking at the 11 today, bro, there's a lot of new faces, bro. It's honestly almost a completely different team. So I was actually really surprised to see that. But the players they have in place, I mean, pretty good. I really liked performance from Folorunshu. I thought he was actually fantastic on that left-hand side. And Lucas Beltran, the Argentine striker, I wouldn't say he seems to be a lethal striker, but he seems to be very good with link-up play. And I think that's obviously an incredible attribute to have. So the players that Fiorentina have recruited over the last couple of years, pretty good recruiting.
And so with this victory, Fiorentina now sits in European contention, you could say, 6th place with 36 points, a game in hand compared to most other teams. And Lazio in 4th place with 39 points. I was looking at Lazio's kind of trajectory for this year, what they should be aiming for, because I mean, obviously the title race I would say is between 3 teams in this league, because then there's a big gap between Atalanta and Lazio. I think Lazio's goal is get Champions League qualification, get that 4th place spot. I just think it's going to get really, really close, especially with a result like what happened today, because Juventus is right behind them. Fiorentina is 3 points behind them too. And then Milan and even Bologna are still involved as well. So if there's something to watch here in Serie A outside of the title race, I think it is the race for 4th place right now, which Lazio leads.
Yeah, and it's disappointing if you're a Lazio fan because the season started off so bright, man. I would say the month of December killed their chances of staying in the title race. And now they're in a Champions League scrap.
Yeah.
And it's going to be tough. I can't guarantee anything for Lazio because I think what they've shown over the last month and a half is they're very inconsistent. And they showed it today as well. 20 horrible minutes. Lost them this match, but they were great for the other 70.
Yeah, and I want to watch another Lazio game because I think obviously what they're also going for this year is the Europa League. They're first place. First place in the table in the Europa League. Yeah. One of the few teams that remains undefeated there. If they pull off a Europa League title here, I mean, I think that'd be awesome to see. I just want to see them play up to a better level than what I saw today, man. I think they got exposed by Fiorentina. Working our way backwards here in terms of when the games happened. Before this match, we had Inter Milan face off against Lecce. Lecce hosting this match and getting mollywopped at home, bro. 4-0 with goals from Fratesi, Lautaro Martinez, Denzel Dumfries, Taremi getting on the scoreboard with a penalty. You had Marcus Thuram providing a beautiful assist in that first goal and having this game done and dusted basically by halftime. Inter Milan came out, they showcased why they're a title contender, and they got a good 4-0 result.
Yeah, this is as one-sided as it gets of a match. Lecce had zero chance once that whistle blew. They offered nothing offensively. They could not contain any of Inter Milan's attackers. That opening goal from Thuram was gorgeous. He goes one-on-one, does the defender in, and then in the last second before the keeper meets him, he dishes it off to Fratesi. A gorgeous assist from Thuram. Dumfries gets a good goal in pressure. This is an easy win for Inter Milan. It doesn't get easier than this.
Yes, and obviously, I mean, they have a game in hand right now compared to Napoli. Napoli getting a big result against Juventus yesterday. But they're 3 points behind. If Inter win their game in hand, they're basically tied for the title race right now, and they'll get first place because of goal difference. It's looking like a really close race up top. But for Inter Milan's success, I always think about not just the Scudetto, but also the UEFA Champions League. And seeing how their offense was on fire today, I asked myself this question. I'm curious to know what you think. When it comes to Inter Milan's offensive success, because their defense is really, really good, man. It's so hard to score on them. But when it comes to their offensive success, who's more important? Who plays a bigger role? Is it Lautaro Martinez or is it Marcus Thuram? Because I've felt in the past that Thuram can oftentimes go ghost, man. In comparison to what we saw today, the confidence he can have with the ball at his feet when he's playing in the league specifically. You've shined the bright lights on Marcus Thuram. I feel like there's been a pattern of seeing him, kind of dwindle down a little bit. And Lautaro Martinez, I mean, what a complex player, man. He's had some great games and big matches, and then he's had other games where he skies a penalty against Atletico Madrid in the round of 16 matchup, right?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you, who do you think is more important to Inter Milan's success?
It has to be Martinez for me, simply because he's a better goal scorer than Thuram. Thuram might be the better overall player, but since Inter Milan specifically need goals, since it doesn't really come from anywhere else, you would trust Lautaro to be that guy over Thuram. If you only can start one of them, if I'm the coach of Inter Milan, I'm definitely starting Lautaro due to his clinicality.
Yeah, I mean, his numbers are crazy when he's on it. They really are. And he is such a difference maker in that aspect. I would actually say Marcus Thuram because he almost has an X-factor ability beyond scoring goals. And if he's not showing up, Lautaro Martinez can't do what he does. Lautaro Martinez scored a crazy goal today, man. Crazy. Like, his talent is there. With Thuram, I don't have that same confidence that he can pop one off like that just out of nowhere. And I need to see more consistency from Thuram because so far this year, he's having a great season in Serie A and has really just continued his momentum. I get weary of those big moments, and if Marcus Thuram can showcase his talent in those moments.
Yeah, I've always been a big fan of Thuram, not because he scores goals, not because he gets assists, but just because he's a straight baller.
Yeah.
He really is one of those guys that just plays ball. He's not going to be a stat guy. He's been doing it since he was at Mönchengladbach in Germany. I think the move to Inter Milan, honestly, was great for his career. But again, I'm going to back the guy that just puts the ball in the back of the net more. Thuram's a joy to watch, though. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't know if I've ever seen Thuram be clutch. Like in big matches, even for France especially, Thuram doesn't really show up. So Lautaro Martinez has shown up in the past with Argentina, or at least for Inter Milan. So yeah, I think I would definitely go Lautaro here.
Does Lecce survive relegation?
Let's see where they're at.
They're at 20 points, 17th place right now, right outside the zone, 1 point off. And after what I saw today, I mean, it's tough to gauge when they're playing one of the best teams in Italy, but it's not looking very bright for them.
They were so bad today. But it is against probably the best team in Italy outside of Napoli. So I don't know. I need to see Lecce play against a team that's actually closer to them.
Yeah, me too.
Because they got absolutely dominated today, but maybe it's not their fault.
Yeah, and I mean, the title race is pretty crazy. The gap between 18th place and 12th place is only 4 points.
Yeah, isn't that nuts?
Yeah, man.
It's only 6 points all the way up to 10th place.
That's crazy.
So, like, honestly, even Torino's technically not safe.
Does everyone suck? What is that about? Is everyone just losing?
I just think mid-table Italy is as equal as it gets.
Yeah.
Everyone's the same once it gets from, like, 9th place all the way to 20.
That's funny, man. That really is. Next up, we had AS Roma get their first away victory of the year against Udinese, who went up 1-0 in this game. But then Roma is given 2 penalties in this match, and they end up slotting both into the back of the net. 3 points here for Roma, but interested to gauge your attitude about this victory.
Yeah, man. The penalties were super cheap, too, in my opinion.
Charmin soft, bro.
Charmin soft, man. But it's tough.
They're penalties.
I can't criticize Roma. I can't, because they are penalties.
They're penalties.
But outside of those, man, they didn't generate much. So that's why I just think harsh on Udinese. It's just not their day. If you just look at it that way, bad luck. But for Roma, it is their day. They get the win, sure. I don't think they had a bad performance. I can't say that Roma played poorly, because they didn't. They actually dominated the game, and they did what they could in front of goal. Udinese were pretty sloppy, but they weren't bad either. I just think this game probably should have ended in a draw. I think it would have been much more fair here. But yeah, Roma get a little lucky, but I can't criticize them. Sure, they get the 3 points.
If I'm an Udinese fan, I'm going up to Roma fans after the game. I'm getting my boys to hold me back, and I'm yelling in their faces, "You're fucking lucky. You got fucking lucky, man." Yeah. Because they did get the result, and credit to them. But this game could have ended differently. With this new trend that we have of, diving deep into countries and learning more about these clubs and watching these teams, I try to put it on to myself to research the teams and learn more about their history and what the fuck is going on. Udinese is an interesting club, man.
Yeah.
Apparently, they got like a reputation for being one of the weirdest clubs in Italy. And I think it's represented when you look at their arm sleeve, and they got Pepe the fucking frog on there, man.
Dude, I was so surprised to see that. Apparently, it's a coin.
It's a coin. They're sponsored by a coin.
Yeah.
And they're hoisting Pepe the frog on their jerseys and forcing fans to buy that jersey.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then apparently, I looked into just what's been going on lately. In 2020, I don't know the coach's name, but in 2020, apparently they had a coach who motivated his players prior to a match by showing them explicit content, you could say.
I think I remember hearing
this is before we had the pod.
Yeah.
But I'm like, damn, bro, that's in their history.
Yeah.
It's a very Royce DuPont method to motivating your people.
Yeah.
But Udinese is that type of team, man. And it's a really interesting club to dive into, because I think there's more to uncover. And I would love to know in the comments if you know more about Udinese. But just right off the bat, what I've learned, an incredibly interesting club.
But also in their history, they were the European team to bring Alexis Sanchez from South America.
Really?
Yep. He started his European career there.
Then that's so interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Great recruiting, and he's back. Alexis Sanchez is back home at Udinese.
That's crazy.
For all these years. Pretty nuts. But yeah, I mean, and then today they showed some decent class at times. Luca getting a really good goal, settles it in the box, smashes it home. Yeah, they're a really quirky team, Udinese, for sure.
Florian Thauvin from Liga MX. This is the team he went to find happiness after being depressed in Mexico. It's just so interesting. And for Roma, I was surprised to see Ranieri on the sidelines coaching this team, because I know they've gone through a lot of a coaching debacle these past couple of years. Now they're instilling their faith on the Leicester City legend Ranieri to coach them.
Roma could be so dope, man. But instead, they're mid-table. Because that's what they are, bro. They're a mid-team, man. At the end of the day, they've always have one or two good players. They never have the next young Italian star either. Like, it's the best Italians are either at Juve, any of the Milan teams. Even Lazio end up with the better Italian teams, man. For Roma, their history could be so different. I don't know if it's just a case of they're so poorly ran, or maybe they're a very prideful team and they don't like to spend a lot of money thinking they can do it without it. But Roma could be so dope, but they're not. They're mid. They're mid, bro.
I'm not going to be that harsh because they gave me Salah and Alisson. All right? They gave me Salah and Alisson. Obviously, they didn't find those talents, but they're the stepping stone of Liverpool. But I'm with you in the sense that I always expect to see them higher in the standings than what they actually are, bro. Especially in the modern era. I think the peak that they had was when they came back against Barcelona. And since then, it's been downhill for them. They haven't competed for the Scudetto, and it's rare if they're even in the top 4 conversation.
Rare,
man.
bro.
But I was remembering the 2000s with Totti, like at least they had that as a constant thing to rely on was European qualification. And now mid-table Roma for a city that is Roma, bro. Like it's an iconic Italian city.
Come on.
Get a better team, man.
Please.
Get a better team. Next game and the last one of the day is Captain America's very own AC Milan going up against Parma in a game where Parma came to play, brother, and made the scoreline 2-1. But then AC Milan finds it within themselves to pull off a 90-minute plus comeback, scoring 2 goals in additional time and winning this game 3-2.
Yeah, there's a lot of late drama in this one. In the 80th minute, Parma go up 2-1 to look like they can actually see out this game and get a huge victory in the San Siro. But then, as you said, Milan get 2 stoppage time goals, one through Tiani Reinders with a really nice diagonal ball that he receives, and he puts it away really, really well. And then the third goal, it's just chaos. Yeah. Pure chaos. Very scrappy from Chukwueze, but it works. Milan really went for it in those last 10 to 15 minutes, so definitely got to give credit there. Parma, though, I think they deserve better. They played great in this game, man. They didn't deserve to concede that last goal, but Milan did enough to squeak that third goal in. So deserved for Milan, but unlucky if you're Parma because they had a great game. Yeah. Cancellieri, oh my God. A stunning goal in the first half. A gorgeous bent shot from outside the box. So yeah, I think Parma deserved a little bit better here, but Milan did get it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that second goal that Parma conceded was just a knife through the heart because it was a lapse, a defensive lapse. Yeah. Reindeer should not have that much time in the box. He let the ball roll in front of him. Then he made his decision to what to do, and to have that much time on the ball, it just opened up for him. Parma, I agree, deserved a little bit more, but AC Milan did show that jurisdiction to get back into this game and fight for the result.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to highlight a player that I think had his best game that I've ever seen in this match, Pavlovic. This is the best This is the best. The best 90 minutes I've seen him have. He was the catalyst in that. He was a catalyst, and I believe both goals, especially that third one, keeping it up with his head, winning every single aerial duel, and just being an offensive force once he pushed himself up to try to bring them back into this match. For me, Pavlovic, man, stood out as a standout player in this game, man of the match, in my opinion. And I just can't believe I'm saying that because I have a history with this guy. Mm-hmm. And I instilled my faith in him with the Serbian national team in 2022. And since then, he has disappointed me every single time. This was good from Pavlovic, man.
I still don't trust him because he got a yellow card like in the 15th minute.
Trust is different.
I can't trust him, bro.
But he got hot. He got hot for 90 minutes, man.
I think it works against Parma. I think it works in these cases. But when you really need him, I think Pavlovic will kill you.
And did you see that Conceição got into like a spat with Calabria? Or who was it? It was...
Yeah, dude. I didn't know who it was. About, man? But was it a player?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
I need to know more. If you're an AC Milan fan or a Serie A fan, please let me know what was going on there. Because the video is ridiculous. Conceição is pissed. And he goes at him for a full 40, 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Really making his print on this AC Milan team right off the bat.
What was said, bro? Like, what did he say to Conceição, man? Like, is Conceição that fluent in Italian already? God damn, bro. But, dude, for Parma, there's a player that I was not expecting to see. Japan's #1 goalkeeper, Zion Suzuki.
Yeah.
I did not realize he was at Parma. And not only is he at Parma, but he's their starting goalkeeper. We came to know Suzuki through some very shaky performances at the AFC Asian Cup last year, and that shakiness has continued, bro, because he drew the penalty that got Milan back into the game 1-1. And it was a really poor moment, a lapse of concentration that I think is becoming attached to Suzuki when he plays, because he just ends up pushing the Milan defender. It's blatant, it's clear, it's a penalty, and it's disrespectful to Cancellieri because he scored a banger for your team, man.
It is.
So I think the shakiness and the lapse of concentration that Suzuki's shown in the last year or two it's still there. And if you're a Japan national team fan, you cannot be secure in your starting goalkeeping position. You just can't.
You can't if that's the best that you have. And I don't want to be too hard on him, but that third goal too, where Chukwueze scores with his thigh. Like,
Yeah.
I think it was very reactionary in the moment, and he committed way too early, and thus the ball just ended up going into the back of the net. But if he can just stay composed for an extra second longer, I think it might even be an easy save. Obviously, I can't blame it. I know how it gets. It was crazy. It was chaos. It was just very in the moment, but I think a better goalkeeper stops that opportunity. And so regardless, I think Suzuki is a really interesting player that I also was surprised to see with this Parma team. I got to ask you the same question as with Lecce. Does Parma survive relegation?
Parma will be fine. They'll be fine. They'll be good. There's zero worry.
We move on. Milan right now sits in 7th place outside of European qualification with 34 points. And honestly, not surprised to see that when I look at the table, because they're high in the Champions League standings, right? And I know that this week we acknowledge that, yes, they've gotten results there, but we don't fully buy into this AC Milan project that they're proposing to us. When I saw their standings in the Serie A, I was like, yeah, this is why. Yeah. This is why, bro. I need more consistency out of this team. And the fact that they're not even in the top 4, in the race for the top 4, tells me that I don't think they're going to do anything in the Champions League specifically.
Yeah, same, man. It's frustrating. Maybe next year. Because they do have some talent, man, some real talent. Pulisic getting a goal today, by the way.
Sure.
A pretty large drought he was in, hadn't scored in 9 games for AC Milan, so this was a good moment for him. But there's so much talent in this team. They should be so much better. If they can get a few pieces, I think specifically in the midfield. And I just don't know if Conceição is the guy either. Like,
we don't know.
I was going to say they need a better coach, but they just got Conceição, and I don't know, man. I think there's several problems that AC Milan have to deal with. It's just not going to get fixed this year for sure.
We'll finish off with this. Since Christian Pulisic arrived to AC Milan, no player has accumulated more goals or assists.
Beautiful.
So AC Milan's best player, you could say, since his arrival.
I do want to have a note on Juventus, though. I really do. They played yesterday against Napoli, and the big narrative going into yesterday's match was Juventus have not lost a Serie A game in 29 matches straight.
Good Lord.
29. Unbeaten run. Which was pretty ridiculous, but here's the thing. They're not even close to the title race.
Nah.
No, it's sad. At a certain point, man, have respect for yourself and go for a win. Come on, bro.
Actually, yeah, man.
Like you're happy with a draw? Yeah. That's your mentality, bro? One of the biggest clubs in Italy, and you're like, let's go for a draw, boys.
I think that's the mentality this year. They get more hyped drawing a game than winning. Yeah, it excites them.
It excites them. Another interesting thing, Randall Kolo Muani getting his debut. His debut, and what a debut, as he scored an absolute banger. And this is what Juve need, because if you've watched Juve all year long, you understand why they go for draws. They don't have offense. They really don't. And Kolo Muani is going to change that, because he's so dynamic, he's so active, and he can provide the finish. So what a signing for, honestly, both player and club. They need him desperately, bro. Third thing that I found interesting is Weston McKennie's a fullback now.
Really?
Yep.
Huh.
And
I feel like he could do it.
Sure. And the thing is, he does do it. I, as a fan, diehard fan of the USA men's national team, I hate it. Because 2 years ago, I praised McKennie as not just one of the best midfielders. I praised Weston McKennie as one of the best midfielders in all of CONCACAF. Beating out the best Canadian midfielders, beating out the best Mexican midfielders. And I said it with a real meaning behind it, because the way he would dominate national team games in the middle of the pitch with the USA, it was unparalleled.
That was good.
And now he's not even getting reps in that position. So Pochettino is going to have to ask him to play a position that he's not going to be fully comfortable in. I mean, playing wide defensively is a completely different mentality than having to deal with the chaos of midfield. So I don't like it. I really don't like it. I expected McKennie to be our general in the midfield. Now we're going to have him with a right back mentality. I just think it's really interesting. Now, the thing is, McKennie's a great player. So I expect him to be able to adapt very well. It's just that repetition of playing midfield game in, game out, week in, week out, it's not going to be there. So it'll be fine against most CONCACAF opponents, but when we need a good midfielder against South American, European competition, I just don't know if McKennie's going to be that guy anymore.
Well, yeah, I mean, is he replacing Danilo right now? Is that what it is? Because I saw Danilo's leaving. that what the replacement is?
Yeah. And the other fullbacks that they have, like Savona, for example, they're just not good enough. They prefer to have McKennie in a defensive fullback position. That's the thing, though, is that McKennie he's not a runner. McKennie's never been known for his pace. So he just stays in a defensive posture. He's basically just a defender now.
Yeah, interesting. I don't doubt that he'd still dominate the midfield, though, personally. I really don't.
I think the lack of repetition of having to deal with a lot of midfield pressure and being able to find those tight passes, it's not going to be there. It's not going to be there, bro.
I don't think you lose that, man.
He doesn't pass, though, at Juventus anymore.
Yeah,
like, seeing him against Napoli.
It's a different role, though. Juventus is asking different role out of him. I think with the USA, he knows what he needs to do. What he needs to do to contribute.
Yeah, but I'm not doubting his IQ or his ability to know what to do. Yeah. I'm doubting the repetition, the comfortability of knowing that, I'm used to this.
I'm saying he's good enough to be one of those players that can play that sort of role at club and then transition to the U.S. club differently. I think he's that good. At least when it comes to the fact that he is so defensive. Like, I think he's just playing a role for Juventus. And at the U.S. men's national team, that's where he thrives. He's in his position. He's natural with it. He knows what to do. I think just at Juventus, he's a soldier. And we might lose a little bit of flashiness or creativity from that we are used to seeing, but I'm not as pessimistic about this yet.
I'm just worried, especially because our midfield has been really weak recently. And McKennie's drop-off has been a large part of that. McKennie was in his prime 2 years ago, but since then, we've seen a slow decline of his ability in the midfield. And the fact that he's not even playing midfield anymore, I think is going to add to that decline.
I am interested to see that. You got the resurgence of Tyler Adams, though.
That's a good thing.
Musa looks good. He looks better than last year.
Musa looks okay.
Gio Reyna, I don't know. I mean, Reyna, I don't know what to do with it.
This is why I'm worried. It's because so many of the midfielders are either on the decline outside of Adams, and I really needed McKennie to be our guy, and he's not even playing in midfield anymore.
Yeah, we got a year and a half to go,
and that's not a lot of time.
It's gonna get tight. It's gonna get really tight.
That's why I'm very, very worried.
And in this game, Juventus loses to Napoli, finally breaking their undefeated streak. Thanks to the glory of God, man, it's over. I don't have to hear about
man.
This.
Thank God.
I don't have to hear about this. And Napoli wins. You said 3 takeaways. My 4th takeaway. Conte is a possessed man this year.
Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah. The things I'm hearing from in the media, the way I see him on the sideline, and the way he's got this Napoli team drilled, they're going to win the Scudetto, bro.
Yeah, I think so. The way they dominated Juventus, especially in that second half, I was like, this is a championship-winning team. Yeah. Like, the confidence that everyone's showing on the touchline and on the pitch, this is how you win the Scudetto, man. And Conte, we talked about it a while back. He's the guy to do it in Italy, man. He is Mr. Scudetto, bro. So for Napoli, so good to see, man.